I don't even know how to explain it anymore. College football, another weekend, some more craziness, some answers, a lot more questions, massive games leading up to what's going to be another weekend of massive games. I love it. As we always say here at Crane and Company, please put it in a bucket and pour it all over us. We appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button while you're here. We got a ton to get to. We're going to get to you guys in the chat. All right, I can feel you buzzing already. But let me go ahead and bring in. And guys, when I bring you in, okay, can you just give me just a quick synopsis, maybe one sentence, maybe a haiku, maybe something cool I haven't heard about yet about what you thought about yesterday. First, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, who's great at haikus.
I can't speak to that, but last week I told you guys how much fun it was to watch a crazy weekend of college football. Well, this weekend the craziness carried over, but it was a lot less fun in our household, that's for sure.
Yeah, I could see that. You know, the Michigan-Alabama blend there didn't really go down smooth. But don't worry, like when it comes to Auburn, told you once again, but you can't kill what's dead inside. And speaking of dead inside, Blaine, your thoughts yesterday, pandemonium.
Yeah, I'm still dead inside. It turns out, just found out, opened it up again. And yeah, Auburn just, you couldn't have wrote the script worse, but I'm sure we'll get into that later.
Yeah, and before we get starting with Georgia, Texas, obviously, David, yesterday I got asked, buddy of mine, there's a show on High Top Sports, like kind of like an early morning game day show, like mixed with like some around the horn rules, and he asked if Blaine would want to come on, if we would both want to come on yesterday morning before the games kicked off, and so we're like, yeah. So Blaine ends up coming over, eating dinner at our house last night. He stays the night over here, and so we wake up and we're both doing the show. It's the first time Blaine's ever done it, and you accumulate points throughout the show, like around the horn.
Okay.
Right, and then at the end, the winner gets like 30 seconds to say what he wants.
No way.
But Blaine won, because oh boy felt sorry for him. It was the first time. Blaine won. David, without, and this is just my brother in a nutshell, without a hesitancy, Blaine sits back in the chair, plugs the thing, goes and looks at the guys and goes, "So do y'all have trumpets or should I just start?"
Well, hold on. I want to know what the answer was. Did they have trumpets?
They did not have trumpets.
Hold on. They have a victory speech portion of their show with no trumpets?
No, with no music, but without skipping.
I'm on Team Blaine.
Oh, dude, like David, I was dying in the corner of the room. Like, it was just so on point. But
I'm proud of you, kid.
Yeah, I was
Thanks,
proud
Coach.
Of him too. I was proud of him too. Look, every now and then you got to make somebody feel good about themselves, but you're not gonna have to make anybody at Georgia feel better about themselves after what happened yesterday. And guys, 30,000-foot view of this thing we talked about this week. If there's a team that has a chance to separate themselves kind of from the rest of college football, it was most likely Texas, because we haven't seen a really complete team out there from a complementary offense, defense, special team standpoint that we can point at and say, all right, this is the best team, all right, in the most ways. Everybody else has to catch them. Guys, after last night, you can put Oregon 1, Penn State 2, say you're undefeated, and I get it. That makes sense. But right now at the top, Georgia dominated Texas in that game for most of it. We'll talk about the call, I'm sure, in the third quarter. But Blaine, I want to start with you on this one. What surprised you the most about that Georgia-Texas game yesterday overall?
To be honest with you, nothing. It kind of went exactly how I thought it would and how I said on this show. If there's going to be anything, it's ETN in the run game. Finished with 90 yards, was somewhat productive in big moments. What do we talk about this Georgia team walking into this game? Is like we haven't seen Georgia beat Georgia in the way they won is the scariest thing. Carson Beck played to mid to below mediocre, 3 interceptions. This is what a Georgia front seven is what we're used to seeing. Absolutely not only getting in the backfield, but getting to Quinn Ewers early and often. If you get to him early, he kind of struggles and gets rattled throughout the day. So, if you look at where field position started this game, Georgia usually started a drive on the Texas 32. That's how you win football games like this, and that's defense. And we thought Kirby Smart, the big thing, everybody, you saw the post-game press conference, everybody was getting some help. David, me and you didn't pick him. Nobody picked him. And when Kirby Smart can get his players to believe this, that's when they're the most dangerous.
Yeah, and kudos to you guys for picking Georgia and Jeff.
Yeah,
Fox.
not you, Jake. Jake didn't pick him. He picked
Well,
Texas. Everybody, point and laugh.
so, yeah, I picked Illinois. So let me tell you about a game.
That's true.
No, to me, this was reverse Clemson for Georgia, Coney. That's what it looked like to me. Georgia offensively, and it was because of the field position. It was because of the ability to create turnovers and turning the ball right back over. But they kind of jumped them, right? And I had a feeling, I said during the week, I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia punches first. Mm-hmm. But when you look at this game physically, I said all week, this isn't the Georgia team that we've seen the past, 3 years. And I still don't think it is. I don't think the roster is as good. But this year in college football, you may not need a roster that is that good to win the national championship if your offensive line is going to play like this, which, again, they haven't shown this all year, but this is what makes coaching so difficult, trying to get your guys to play to an elite level every single weekend, David, because Georgia pushed Texas around the way we thought Texas was now going to push Georgia around.
Guys, it cannot be overstated what we watched last night. Kirby Smart led the Georgia Bulldogs on the road in Austin, Texas, the same Georgia team that already has a loss to Alabama, the same Georgia team that looked mediocre against Kentucky and Mississippi State, led them on the road and beat the number one team in the country in Texas so thoroughly that they pulled Quinn Ewers out of the football game at one point and did all that with their own quarterback, Carson Beck, throwing 3 interceptions. So we talked about it all week that Kirby Smart was going to come in with the best possible game plan that anyone could against Texas. The only question was, is that good enough to win the game? Is that good enough to keep it close? Or can you keep it close for a little bit like Clemson did against Georgia, but then Texas blows you out later? That was the only question. We talked about it for week after week after week. Every time that Texas comes up, and Blaine, I've heard you say a number of times, if you want to beat the Longhorns, you have to get to Quinn Ewers or whoever the quarterback is. They ended up going to Arch Manning for a little bit right before halftime. If you can get to Quinn Ewers, you have a chance. If he stays clean and upright in the pocket, Texas is going to blow you out. Well, boy, did Georgia get to him. Everything about this game to me is about Georgia on defense. The disguise pressures, the disguise coverages, bluffing man, dropping back into zone. That led to a Quinn Ewers interception. Fantastic game plan. And look, I think the entire SEC has been reset, and now with Alabama getting 2 losses, Georgia's right back in the conversation to make the conference championship.
Well, and Blaine, Texas couldn't run the ball. And David's right. What Georgia did from showing looks and bluffing, showing looks and going, and you're able to do that when it's 3rd and 9 the whole game. I mean, that's where Texas, it seemed like they stayed outside of the third quarter. Everything was in 3rd and 9. Because Georgia in that front 7, especially at the linebacker position, I thought the linebackers played the best game that they've played at Georgia, this group in this game, and they had to. I mean, Wisner had 52 yards on 15 carries, but it wasn't like they were busting anything or Texas could never get on schedule, and it just seemed like the gravity was with Georgia. And then you saw the Georgia run game really start to eat at Texas a little bit. And that's what set the tone. And Carson Beck, again, 23 of 41, 175 and 3 picks. You weren't great, but you didn't have to be great when you were the team that could run the ball and you were the team that could stop the run. Hell, the only thing Texas really had going for them was Wingo every now and then, and that big white troll they got at Gunnar Helmet tight end.
Yeah, and we've said it on this show, and we'll say it repeatedly. As fancy as these offensive looks when it comes to Sark, Lane Kiffin, Josh Heupel, the way the car goes is by running the football. That's what they want. That's the only thing that really opens up this offense for later. And I mean, guys, we talked about it with Texas. I mean, there's nobody on that schedule yet. The more we say Michigan play football, that really has impressed us. So this was Texas's first test from an athletic standpoint, from guys running around who can look like Texas. And the scariest about the thing about this game that at least I'm coming out with is Georgia still hadn't played a complete football game yet. Georgia haven't played 4 quarters, offense, defense meshing together yet, and they're still beating teams like this. So that's the scariest thing. The message is that Georgia, even with this type of win, a dominating win, with your offense playing that bad, they still haven't played a complete game yet.
David, does that give you pause to make you think, hey, this Georgia team could possibly end up being the dominant one in college football if they're able to put it together as we get into this stretch run? We hear this term in college basketball all the time. You want to get hot at the right time. If Georgia can put this thing together, man, I mean, I'm looking around the rest of college football. But I know Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, what's going on in the Big Ten, but that looked like old Georgia up front yesterday, and old Georgia wins rings.
Yeah, I just looking around the landscape of college football right now, I don't know if I see a team that can just dominate every single opponent. Now, I mean, we're going to get a bigger sample size on Oregon for sure, and they're unbeaten, and there's a couple undefeated teams. But what surprised me yesterday was Georgia's ability to win a football game like that with their offense playing so bad, or specifically Carson Beck. I really thought if Georgia wins this game, the defense would play the way they did, and Carson Beck would come in and play really good. Carson Beck would play an entire 4 quarters like we saw him in the second half against Alabama. That's not what happened, guys. I mean, he's 23 of 41. That's already a lot of times throwing the football after 49 attempts against Mississippi State, 175 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and Georgia was up 23-0 and won 30-15. That's truly incredible. So, look, again, like I said, I think they're back in position to be able to win the conference, which is truly incredible where we've come from the last few weeks. But I do want to talk to you guys about the second half of this football game. Multiple targeting penalties on Georgia. I specifically want to talk about the second one. People around the country seem split on it somehow about lowering your head. Look, to me, it looked like a form tackle. I think the game of football is being ruined by targeting. But even the bigger issue was the pass interference, which to me was not pass interference, so it was the wrong call. But all of a sudden, fans start throwing beer cans down on the field. Sark tells them to stop, and all of a sudden, the call gets reversed. I don't think we can overstate how big of a moment that was for college football moving forward as a precedent. I have to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'll get to the targeting in a second. As far as the pass interference that was against Texas, that then wasn't against Texas, I've seen calls get reversed before. Obviously, I've seen plays that are reviewable plays get reversed. I've never seen a call that's a non-reviewable play get reversed like that. Now, again, the timeline and the chronology of it is the most important part. Without fans, and we talk about this all the time, and when we're talking about NIL, and we'll make like the example of the law in the United States is precedent, right? Like what sets precedent. We had a call in a big game, in the biggest game of the year, right up to this point, pretty much. You could argue Alabama, Georgia before, but it's right there. Had a call in a game that people did not like. So they threw beer bottles and water bottles and loaded up a whole end zone full of them, to the point where the head coach of that team had to run over there and tell everybody to stop, and the refs paused the game. And during that pause, they get together and discuss overturning the pass interference that ended up in a turnover that got Texas in scoring position, which therefore made the game a one score game. I've never seen that before in my life. I have watched as much football as a 34-year-old man could have watched. I've seen plays overturned. David, I've never seen a play or a call get overturned after a delay in the game because people were throwing bottles on the field. Even if you wanted to change the call, even if the ref in the discussion said, man, I screwed that up, that wasn't pass interference, I don't think you can change that call, at least the way the chronology works and the way that the function of the officials and the mechanics of the officials. I think it was an embarrassment to college football, even though it was definitely not pass interference.
So, Blaine, is there any thinking at all here where the referees were already getting together before beer bottles are coming down and saying, hey, I didn't see pass interference on that call, and we were distracted from that and missed that? Or is it as clear-cut as, man, they really got nervous because the fans started throwing stuff on the field and changed the call?
Well, I think this is exactly what happened, okay? Obviously not pass interference.
Okay.
We can all agree on that.
True.
I think they started throwing bottles, okay? I think somebody in an important place saw that it's not pass interference. Someone told, oh, boy, that it's not pass interference on the field. They all got together. It's non-reviewable. They basically reviewed it without reviewing it and then changed the call on the field.
So they didn't review it if they didn't technically look at it.
That's what I saw.
Okay, so here's my ultimate question to you guys.
I
then.
know what you're going to ask.
Is it worth getting the call right to set up that sort of precedent? And maybe the answer is yes. I just want to know what you think.
Well,
we want to get calls right.
We want to get calls right. The thing that worries me is that I sit here and say, yes, I want to get that call right. Make pass interference a reviewable play. See, but then that opens up a can of worms, and now games are going to be 8 hours.
They tried that in the NFL.
Yeah, like they tried it in the NFL.
Can we have a challenge?
Like that, to me, that's the like isn't that the way the new UFL is? Like the coach has like a super challenge, right? He can challenge one time, like, if it was pass interference or something like that. I would like that. But
or maybe the refs just need to get someone, like to Blaine's point, maybe the refs just need someone to call down there and say, hey, you got that call wrong. The only thing is that needs to happen before you already assess the penalty. And obviously the optics of the fans throwing.
Yes, because you did assess the penalty. You called the penalty out to the world. And then you guys then came together while that craziness was going on with the bottles. As far as targeting, I've sat here and bitched and complained about it. They never called on the offensive guy when they lowered their helmet. Yet Aguero lowers his helmet when an offensive player lowers his helmet, and I get thrown out of the game. And then they say, this is the line that kills me. It's not just to protect the offensive player. It's to protect the defender too. Okay, so why is it never called on the offense when y'all lower the crown of the helmet? It's meant to protect y'all too, right?
Yeah.
I'll never.
I do think that's a serious problem when it comes to targeting. Like, when's the last time you can remember an offensive player getting thrown out of a football from targeting? Like, I saw it yesterday. You could equally thrown that kid out on offense the way you threw that guy out on defense, and it's killing the game. That roughing the passer. There's certain things right now in college football. It's turning into 7-on-7.
Yeah. I mean, that's
what it's turning into.
Last night, I'm yelling at the screen, like, put a flag on them, or better yet, just play two-hand touch. At some point, we either have to commit to playing tackle football or we have to commit to something else.
Yeah, look, it's, you sign the paper, right? Yeah. You sign the paper. Nobody's forcing anybody to play. This isn't the Hunger Games.
That's the signature right there?
All right, yeah, they're not running to District 4 and grabbing 3 9-year-olds and telling them to tackle Derrick Henry. Like, that's not how that works. But let's get to the chat.
All right, it's got a Saint Double K. What's up, man? He says, guys, if this recap isn't what I want, I'm going to throw bottles at you until I get exactly what I want.
4D chess. Like, who in what think tank and what college football fan think tank in Fansville did they come up with this? Maybe if we throw bottles in the field, they'll take time and realize the call was wrong. And it worked.
Well, how does Texas not get penalized for that?
There's a question,
right? Because I remember when at the Lane Kiffin situation, that home team got penalized for that.
Yeah, but I mean that was like continuous, unless I am remembering.
Oh, is there a certain? What's the line when it comes to the amount of bottles that can be thrown?
I'll have to look it up. It's a bylaw.
Okay, I love it. So the $5 donation from Django Novo. He says, welcome to the SEC, Texas. Can't wait to see y'all at the end of the year at Kyle Field. Gig 'em, hashtag saw them all.
Yeah, by the way, just a heads up, Texas, their next 5 games at Vanderbilt, who snuck by Ball State. They're looking ahead. We all know it. Florida at home, at Arkansas, Kentucky at home, and then at Texas A&M. God, 10-2 ain't no guarantee with those 5. I know they only got 1 loss right now. But, hey, how great of a day was it yesterday for A&M and LSU? That was exactly what you needed to happen. A&M sitting at 4-0 in the conference. LSU sitting at 3-0 in the conference. Just now everybody else has a loss. And then you got the ugly stepsisters. Mississippi State, who's trying to build it up with Levy, and then whatever you want to call what Auburn is. I'm about done talking about them. Now, it's like
you say you're done talking about them, like, and you keep bringing it up.
I haven't brought up Auburn once this time. It's like that one. It's like they say, like, hey, if the coach is yelling at you, like, it's all right, he still cares. It's when they go silent that you should be worried.
You're like Vince in Wedding Crashers. I'm shut down. I'm shut down.
I'm about to go silent.
Yeah, how many times are you going to announce that you're leaving X? Just leave.
No one who announces that they're leaving X because of Elon Musk actually does it, Blaine. They just want to complain, okay?
When they stay silent is when you should worry the most.
I'm going to be in the break.
What else we got in the chat before we got to move?
Let's go to Jacob Shockley. What's up, Jacob? Says, go Dogs. If Carson Beck can play better and our defense can play like that last night, I don't see anybody in college football that can beat us.
You know, what an amazing world to live in when you can be like, hey, man, just imagine if Carson Beck plays better as we beat the number 1 ranked team by 15 on the road. That's the question, right? But that's the question we've been asking about everybody. That's the question we're still asking about Oregon and Ohio State and Penn State. Like, who is the most complete team?
Mm-hmm.
I see some teams that have really good offenses, but they're bad on defense. I've seen some teams that have really good defenses, but they're not great on offense. We're about to talk about one here with Tennessee in a second. There's no, David, at least to this point, and it's great. I think it's great that when you're having a 12-team playoff, there's no complete team. There's no that one thing from Pacific Rim, right? It's just like a couple almost as big things from Pacific Rim.
Yeah, it's like each of them have manifested their imperfections in different ways, but at least the Clemson game makes more sense now, right? Because that's the one that we really couldn't square. At least I couldn't square. I mean, how does Clemson look this good after that second half against Georgia, but Georgia's been looking fraudulent? At least after last night, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, guys, Georgia's still really, really good, and Clemson's really good too. They just, they got exposed in week 1.
I mean, yeah, Clemson took a while for them to get off the ground against Virginia and Calandria at quarterback, but they ended up putting up 40, whatever it was. All right, Blaine, actually, let's go one more, and then we'll get to Bama, Tennessee.
All right, let's go to Christopher Jordan. Says, first targeting was not targeting. Second targeting was targeting by rule. Hate it, but the second one I was fine with.
See, I hated the second one, man. I mean, I watched that live and just thought that's a form tackle.
Well, I thought, to me, if I'm the person that's doing the reviewing, the targeting, I'm trying to find every way to make it not targeting because it throws the player out of the game, right? So that doesn't mean you never call targeting or there shouldn't be targeting. But, like, I'm going to be honest with you, on the first one, I thought, oh, boy, turned his head enough to where it wasn't, like as square. On the second one, you can make the argument that he lowered the crown, right, and launched. I can get that argument, but to me, I wish they would approach it as a way of, all right, unless it's blatantly obvious, if there's any way we can look at it and say, well, maybe, how they do it on indisputable evidence, like you can't overturn a call because you're like, well, maybe it's like that. The reason that you overturn something is that there's indisputable evidence. You can't argue against it.
See, I need it to be blatant and hateful. And I need to see the intent.
Well, intent.
This was created for wide receivers coming over the middle, right? And they're in midair and they're looking at the ball and the defender's looking at them and they spear them and thrust up right into their helmet. That's why this was created. And now we've just taken it. Hey, I just caught the football. I'm coming across the middle and you hit me too hard. How hard you hit somebody should not factor into whether it's targeting or not.
Yeah, remember as well, we're going to read these donos if they're not on topic at the end. Everybody in the chat, hit that subscribe button. All right, guys, let's move on to Alabama's second loss before November. The only time the last time that happened was 2007. I saw
in November.
Alabama's lost a couple games.
Nick Saban's first year, right?
Yeah. Here's first off, you got to give credit to Tennessee, and it's funny. You look at that final score, and one of the things we led the show off with this week was that Tennessee has to be aggressive. And if you're going to go down swinging your sword, trying to make big plays down the field. And they did. I thought Tennessee was as aggressive from a play calling standpoint. And Nico was as aggressive trying to push the ball down the field and running more than he has been the whole season, especially in big games. Now, he ends up 14-27 for 194, a touchdown and interception. I mean, Dylan Sampson goes for $140 on 26 carries, right? And I know the numbers for Nico don't look huge in this offense, but guys, how many wide open guys did he miss down the field? There was, I think, 5 that I counted. 4 of them were touchdowns. One of them would have been close. He hit one. He hit the one to down the sideline late. That was the big throw, and then obviously kind of the lollipop touchdown to Brazil was a really nice throw as well. But Tennessee had to push the ball down the field like that and had to take chances like that to get that run game going like it eventually did. Like I said, Nico had 9 carries for 44 yards, was able to escape, and it was third down. You can't just rely on it always to go great against Alabama down the field and guys to be open when they're supposed to be open. You've got to be able to create at some points. And I thought this game, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't beautiful. Nico made some horrible decisions in the first half. Horrible. But you got away with it because you stayed aggressive and it opened everything else up. And guys, let's just be honest. This Alabama team is just good, right? They're just a little bit better than good on both sides of the ball, I think, overall.
Man, I had my neighbor Adam ask me this last night, which he's an Illinois fan, so I'm really not sure why I was even hanging out with him. But he said, has Alabama ever lost twice in the same season in the state of Tennessee? Because that's what's happened now with road losses at Vanderbilt and Tennessee. I think we're going to have to fact check that and look that up. Similar to the conversation about Georgia beating Texas without their quarterback playing great. I mean, all things for this game, the conversation has to start with Tennessee's defense. 7 straight games now. Every game this season, they've held their opponents under 20 points. That's truly incredible. And I was telling you guys last week in the keys to victory, it's about how well can Tennessee run the football in Alabama. And watching the game, it didn't really feel like, it felt like a defensive battle, which Blaine, I think you brought up in the week. Like, hey, take the under in this game. It's going to be a defensive battle throughout. Didn't look like one team was really running the ball that well on the other. And then with 6 minutes to go in the game, you look down and Tennessee's rush for 220. Right? 220. And like you just chip away. And then the third quarter, Tennessee and Sampson run the football so well in the second half, which is part of, chipping away at these teams. But I'll tell you what, and I don't want to be too hyperbolic here when we talk about Alabama and culture. And I know it's a new regime and a new coach. And I think Kalen DeBoer was a great hire. And obviously I have friends on this staff. But when I'm watching some of these things out on the field with Alabama, when I'm watching 2 wide receivers fake jump shots, when we got a quarterback sneak going right now, when we could easily put 2 tight ends or 2 offensive linemen in there in an era where you can push the quarterback, and we're over faking jump shots on the sideline, and we got 15 penalties for 115 yards. You had the entire length of the field plus another 15 yards in penalties. Like, some of this stuff, I don't know what to make of, guys.
Blaine, me and you grew up, and you being younger than me, you saw it was even more concentrated in your upbringing. Watching Alabama dominate from a personnel standpoint, from a discipline standpoint, and from a culture standpoint. All of those things, to me, from a personnel standpoint, number one, Alabama does not have the personnel are the best personnel in the country anymore. They do not have a monopoly on players. I don't think right now they got a top 5 roster, if we're going to be honest, overall. Number 2, they're still really undisciplined. We saw a little bit of that at the end of the Nick Saban era. The penalties and the turnovers that plagued him at the beginning of the year, that some had thought gotten fixed going up to Wisconsin. Then you find a way to beat Georgia. And then a culture standpoint, I've never seen an Alabama team that when the moment becomes its biggest has faltered like this lately. Have a chance to drive and beat Vanderbilt. Have a chance to drive and beat Tennessee. Lucky to hold on and beat South Carolina. Give up an onside kick there. Really probably should have gotten beat in that game. This is just a total turning of the page for Alabama right now. Not that they're going to disappear or go to irrelevance, but it's still weird to see them bleed like this, Blaine. You got to give credit to Tennessee.
Yeah, and David brought up some great points. The first thing we do need to bring up if we talk about this football game is Tennessee's defense. I love the under in the game. I didn't see where all these points were coming from. Tennessee has legit top 5 defense if you look at it from a roster standpoint. And I thought Alabama personnel-wise, you can say what you want. There's NFL guys on that side of the ball. And look, this is the worst I've seen Jalen Milroe in a long time. 15 penalties. Look, the penalties things were going back to Nick Saban his last couple of years, but they find ways to overcome and win those football games. And right now, Jalen Milroe was just not that guy in this game. And for one reason, why is he throwing it 45 times?
That's what I was going to –
why is he throwing it 45 times? And what do you have, 14 carries or 13 carries, and 6 or 7 of those were rollouts and scrambles? He needs to run the football. That's who he is. You do not need to throw the ball 30-plus times with him to prove a point. We can say what we want, but Jalen Milroe is not going to throw you to a win against defenses like this. The way you beat defenses like this is you have to stretch them out, make them add another hat to the box in the run game.
And then run it right at them.
Yeah, to open up the pass game, the avenues you can do with the quarterback when you utilize his feet, it just opens up the world to you, and I thought they completely missed with that in this game.
David, to that point, didn't this game plan in this game for Alabama feel like last year's game for Alabama against Texas at home? Like it was like Jalen Milroe is going to sit in the pocket and prove to everybody that he's this NFL just pure passer. Not that they didn't have any quarterback design runs. They did, and Tennessee did a good job of making them, not letting that hit for big, right? There were times they were causing disruptions. They would slant, do some different things up front. But, I mean, Jam Miller, I thought, looked pretty decent, when he was running the ball. I didn't think it was awful. It just seemed that every time Alabama got something going, including in the second half, they would throw it 2-3 times in a row instead of saying, listen, we can get 4, we'll get 4. I love targeting Ryan Williams. I would target Ryan Williams more than if I was the FBI and he was on the top 10 most wanted list. But at some point, the run game was working, and that's just not who Jalen Monroe needs to be, especially on the road in a game like this.
Yeah, well, it's funny you asked me about the Texas game, because when I'm watching this game last night, I'm thinking, to Blaine's point, man, this is the worst that I've seen Jalen Monroe, not just this week, but, last couple of weeks. This is the worst that we've seen him since the beginning of last year. And it was after that Texas game when he really started to figure things out. On the point about the number of throws and the play calling, one positive was I did think they were making a concerted effort to target Ryan Williams early in the game and often, right?
Yeah.
We've been saying that's not really happening at the beginning of the game. It's just like these late plays to him. They were trying to get him the football, which I respect. Look, I guarantee you Nick Sheridan's not sitting back there like, hey, how many times can I throw the football so Jalen Monroe's a first-round pick or something? This is a big game. Everyone's watching like that. He's going to call the plays that give him the best chance to win. Again, I think the entire conversation of this game starts with the Tennessee defense. You're just finding yourself in a situation where nothing's working, so then you're trying a little bit of everything, and things can start to unravel a bit. But to Blaine's point, I do think we're looking at a top 5 defense in the country. You have to say that with Tennessee. They've held every single opponent under 20 points, and we talked about this is an Alabama offense that can score at any moment. They can score a 95-yard touchdown. They can lead a 95-yard drive at any time, and they just weren't able to do that. And hats off to Josh Heupel and everything that this Tennessee team has been able to do on defense. And then to the Nico point, as bad as it was at times, right, when you need him most, slot fade into the end zone, put a dot on him, and win the football game.
Yeah, well, I think we like Nico. I'm still not impressed.
No.
Like, I'm not. I mean, it's the same thing.
But what confidence? Like a big thing is confidence coming out of this game, and he made the last throw, Blaine.
Yeah,
that is the thing. He did make the last throw,
but he's still missing the same throws we've seen him miss the last couple weeks.
He is. But as well as I do, I don't think it's an ability thing. I think it's just he has to throw. He has to get. We say this all the time, Major League Baseball. He needs to have enough at bats. If he gets enough at bats. Not that he's going to get a hit every time, but eventually he's going to start hitting them more.
He's the second baseman who can't throw it to first.
Yeah, but he needed that in a big game. Doing it against Kent State, listen, that's great. No, well, yes, it's going to be offensive to Kent State. It's a whole hell of a lot different doing it against Alabama now than it is against Kent State, and you did make the last throw. But if I'm a Georgia fan or if I'm a Tennessee fan this morning, I'm waking up. We just won a huge ass game, and my quarterback didn't really play that good. So it's
and one of them was on the road.
And one of them was on the road. It's exactly right. One of them was on the road with Georgia. So I mean, at this point, maybe it is what it is at the quarterback position in this league. But you look at the rest of Bama's schedule here, and I'm going to get back to the chat. You got Missouri at home next weekend. Then you go to LSU. Man, then you get Mercer.
They have a bye week before that, right?
They got a bye week before LSU, and then you got Mercer for a mercy killing, and then you go to Oklahoma, and then you got the Girl Scouts from Auburn last game of the season.
Iron Bowl
rivalry. Keep that one close and lose it at the end.
But to point on the baseball analogy, so it's like Nico is playing second base and he's overthrowing it to first. But if you put him at right field and the runner's rounding forward, he'll put a dot and you're out.
Yeah,
it's not.
Exactly
Jake was saying it's an ability. Exactly. It's not an ability thing.
Not only is it not an ability thing, I still think he throws one of the best balls in the country. What really surprising to me is earlier in the season, and take Kent State out of it, we know how bad they are. Take Chattanooga out of it, but even NC State, right, who's not a great football team, but at least there's competent players running around. Even when things were going bad for Nico and you had a couple turnovers in that game, he still looked in control and poised and confident and made things look easy even when there's a couple mistakes. Now, at this point in the season, it's like everything looks hard, even the throws that are good and when things are going well.
Yeah, and he ran it.
40 yards, right?
Yeah, when and timely when he
Yeah.
had to, just saying, you know what, go. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. Just go get the first time. All right, let's get to the chat. Let's move on to Michigan, Illinois here.
Let's get a $20 donation from Stevie J. Appreciate it, Stevie. He says, can a Tennessee team with an elite defense and below average offense make it to the national championship? Great show, fellas. Appreciate that, Stevie.
I mean, I think so. If you can run the ball and stop the run, then that's a great formula in any method or format of football, but especially playoff sudden death format football. And we talk about growth throughout the year. Guys, we are only halfway through the year, right? Yeah. We're at, look what week we're in when you put in the buys. We are truly, pretty much at the halfway point. So there's still a lot of growing. Think about where we are now with some teams as opposed to where we were at the beginning of the year. This Tennessee offense should take confidence from that game. Yes, the defense won it for you, right? Yes, the defense came up with the last stop. But every time that Tennessee needed an answer, guys, on offense after Bama scored, they got one, right? Bama goes up, at 7-0 at halftime. Tennessee needs to come out, answer. They find a way. Bama takes the lead again. They go up 10-7. Tennessee gets the ball right back, answers right away, and takes the lead. Bama on a run, right? The C's part, even though I think one of the guards tackled a guy for a touchdown. What does Tennessee do? They get the ball right back, and they not only answer, but they answer to take the lead. I think those are the confidence builders and moments in a year, guys, where there is no, again, we don't see a team that we're just like, they're going to beat the shit out of everybody they play each weekend. Like that team, I haven't seen them yet, right? So if you're a Tennessee, if you're a Georgia, if you're a team that's continues to work their way up, a BYU, a Miami, I think it's wide open, fellas. I think it's wide open. I really believe that.
Let's go do a $50 donation from Dean Olson. Really appreciate it, Dean. He says, boys, I'm way too nervous about the all-time Coach Sig will have to spend as a father to Matt Rule to mention any predictions about Indiana, Nebraska last weekend. I am extending an invitation for you fellas to join the Hoosier bandwagon. Look, Indiana's a problem.
I've kind of been on it. Yeah.
I haven't been. Look, I've said it. Like, they're legit. Like, they're a good football. You didn't only beat Nebraska.
No.
You kicked their ass for
send a message.
Look,
you just cut the head off and send it back to the camp and send a message.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, as somebody that's been on this, all those Florida fans that when I was talking about maybe y'all should, everybody's talking about Lane Kiffin, maybe y'all should look at this Cignetti guy. And Indiana fans, believe me, I've seen you my mentions. I'm not trying to get Kurt shipped off, right? I'm not. I know y'all are loving each other right now. I love that y'all are loving each other. It's a great situation. But I've been on this one. I've been on this one from the jump. We talked about Cignetti. Again, you look at him, he's the cool dad in the carpool line. Like other dads are listening to Bruce Springsteen. Why is that boy got the new Drake mixtape in there? That's amazing. Why do we get to go to Dave and Buster's every day? He's a cooler version of Gus Malzahn minus the pants adjustment.
No, they're legitimately good football team.
No, Blaine, when you watch them, the question was, all right, and not that Nebraska is the most talented team in the world or it's the best team in college football, but now we get to really kind of see, can Indiana dominate this Nebraska team the way they've been dominating everybody else? Not only did they do that, David, they look like they have elite players, like that make fundamentally good plays. They tackle incredibly well in space. They play team defense. They always make a guy miss. And I'm not saying they're going to win the national championship, but I'm telling you guys right now, you better pencil this one in because you do not want to see this Indiana team round one. You don't want to see them round one. And if there's anybody we're not talking about in the highest level of the Big Ten with the Oregons, the Penn States, the Ohio States, it's time, fellas. We put Indiana up there. There's a tier top to me on the Big Ten, and Indiana's one of them.
Jake, you put it well last week. You said Indiana is not the most elite team in any one area. They don't have the best quarterback in the country or the best running back or the best defense in the country, but they're good in every area. Well, I'm watching the game yesterday. I'm thinking, well, they're really, really good in every area. So much so that I was sitting there wondering, are they the most balanced team in the country? I mean, I know it's Nebraska, and I know the strength of schedule hasn't been that good up until they played Nebraska. I'm just talking about balance. I'm talking about being able to throw the ball well, catch the ball well, run the ball well, tackle in open space, not making mental mistakes at the end of the game, not false start. Like that wins football games, man.
Yeah.
And like they're in a position to be able to compete for the Big Ten championship. Like no lie.
No, not at all. And Blaine, if you don't mind, bring up their schedule. This is what I want to say. There's people that will overreach. There's people that will overreact. I just go on what my eyes tell me. And so far this year, if you were to put what Indiana did on the screen and black out their name, and then put what Oregon has done on the screen and black out their name,
yeah,
you would. What if Oregon had done the same thing Indiana did? We'd be saying Oregon's the most dominant team in the country by far. Like, yeah, they may not have played the best team. We kind of did a little bit with Texas this past week. Mm-hmm. When I watch Indiana, I am watching guys that, yes, they're unbelievably well-coached, disciplined, and focused. They understand who they are and what they're best at, right? Which is a little bit of everything. But, guys, the more I watch the athletes they have, and the guys making the plays and the guys making these tackles in space and how violently under control they are. That to me in this year, guys, this could be a Final Four team.
Well,
like,
I mean, really right now you're only have one team left on your schedule that you're not favored against.
Ohio State.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, you have Washington. You're on the road at Michigan State. You have Michigan at home, who's not going to be ranked anymore. Then you're going to be at Ohio State, and you finish the year against Purdue at home.
Boys.
I mean, a one-loss Indiana team.
That's a playoff team, even if you're not one of the Final Four teams.
No, 10-2. Look, a 10-2 Indiana needs to get in. A 10-2 Indiana needs to get.
And also another thought I had while watching them is this is why coaches get paid $75 million in buyouts when they get fired to not coach. This is why, because it's proof if you go land the right guy, they can turn a program around quickly. This guy's been there. Kirk Cignetti's been there for 10 months right now. 10 months at this point, and look what he's done with a program that was a laughing stock of the conference. This is why ADs are constantly searching for that right guy to come in and lead a program.
All right, David, we're going to get back to the SEC and LSU and Arkansas again. Appreciate everybody being in the chat. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, please keep sharing the show. We go live each weekday, 2 to 3:30 p.m. Central. If you can't catch us live, it stays on demand. We take live calls, have a live chat, have a great guest. Really have a great time. David, I want to get your thoughts, obviously being the Michigan alumnus here. This Illinois game, all week, and rightly so, people were questioning their ability to stop the run. You gave up 250 rushing yards to Purdue. But just like the Nebraska game earlier in the year, and that was actually on the road for Illinois, I thought this Illinois team would be able to man up and stop the run somewhat. Not that they were perfect. I mean, Mullins, had 87 on 19 carries and a touchdown. But the game transpired how Illinois kind of wanted it to, it seemed, where they were kind of the enforcers of, not the chunk play, but Altmaier got it when he had to have it. And then Jack Tuttle, some costly turnovers. It just felt like Illinois out Michigan in this game, man.
Well, I want to try and be very precise with my words here. First off, yes, I'm glad you started with Illinois. This story, this is about Illinois. All credit to them, man. All credit to Brett Bielema and what he's built there. And watching Luke Altmaier play football, it really is a thing of beauty. You can tell he's just from the Ole Miss tree of quarterbacks. He's out there playing. I'm thinking, is that Matt Corral? Is that Jackson Dart? Like, he plays like that, constantly just putting his team in a position, whether it's with his arm or with his legs, to be able to win big football games. All credit to them. On the Michigan side of things, it only took me 6 quarters this year, guys, the 4 in the opener and the 2 at the Texas game when I was at, to know, okay, Michigan's not a very good football team this year. Now we're sitting here and I'm saying to you guys, they're a bad football team. And look, I played on a really great Michigan team where we're number 2 in the country. I played on a really bad Michigan team when Rich Rodriguez came in. I've been on both sides of this. No one feels worse than the players and the coaches. You think you care as a fan out there? Like, I promise you, no one feels worse about being bad than the players in the locker room. But the excuse and the reasoning of, oh, well, we just came out, we just won a national championship. We finally did that. The head coach leaves, the quarterback goes to the NFL. It's a new team. Like, you got to reset expectations. That's fine for 8-4 or for 9-3. I'm looking at the rest of this schedule with how bad this football team is now. Blaine, you talked about it a little bit. You're going to have to play Indiana. That's now a problem. You're going to have to play Oregon. Two of the three teams you're going to have to play are undefeated. Michigan State's going to come in here with a ton of confidence. Even though you may be better than them, they're going to come in with a ton of confidence now in a rivalry game. Bottom line is Michigan's going to have to fight like hell to even be 6-6. And with the talent that returned, with all Americans on both sides of the football, I don't think that that's good enough. I don't think 6-6 is good enough, especially when you go look at a program like Washington, who lost even more than Michigan did, lost their head coach to Alabama, their entire coaching staff, lost their quarterback to the NFL, and they're beating Michigan, and they're punching above their weight. So I don't think it's good enough. I think that Sharon Moore is going to, he's going to have to fight to get this right. And I think that it's sort of a similar situation to Auburn and Hugh Freeze, where every extra loss you incur this year is sort of an added win that you need next year.
Yeah, and Blaine, you think Jack Tuttle, 20 of 32, 208 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Do you stick with him?
Where are you going to go?
Yeah, I know.
Where are we going? I mean, the car won't start.
Yeah.
I mean, and the one thing that's good, look, you can lose guys, you can lose players, but the one thing that would scare me if you start losing culture, right? That's the one thing that can't happen. Illinois, first of all, those uniforms were absolutely fire. I think we all three can agree.
All right,
dude,
we liked every part of them, except the helmet. I kept thinking, guys, helmets were getting knocked off.
I thought the helmet
was their hair.
Yeah, I enjoyed the helmets. I enjoyed the whole uniform as a whole.
I don't know.
And it's just, I mean, one, it's hard to win a game when you score 6 points. I mean, you're not going to win a lot of football games doing that. But, the one thing that stood out to me was Illinois dominated the run game. That's the one thing I would never expect. We might lose football games. I get it. But at least we're going to win at what we're good at. And right now, Michigan's not even winning at what they're supposed to be good at. And that's what I would be worried about the most.
Man, I thought Illinois' ability to punch the ball out yesterday, that's it caused Michigan so many problems. I thought that defense was just, and I know, again, the Michigan offense isn't exactly the Globetrotters, but watching Illinois run around, they got some cats too. Guys, they're 6-1, 3-1 in the conference. So it's not over.
Turnover battle 3-0, guys. You don't win football games like that.
No, I agree. All right, let's move on here. Going to get back to the chat in a second. Guys, I want to go to the ACC here. Miami. We knew it was going to be a shootout. All right. We called
David, great bet. The over in this game. I just thought of you. Every time they scored, I was like, I should have bet this. I should have bet this.
52-45.
Low scoring game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was shocked. I thought it was going to get to maybe 200. So you had 17 points scored total in the first quarter, 24 scored in the second quarter, 28 scored in the third quarter, 28 scored in the fourth quarter, and everybody got in on the action, right? You had craziness on all sides, from Louisville fumbling the ball in their own end zone and Miami scoring. Cam Ward 21-32, 319, 4 touchdowns. Damian Martinez, a running back from Miami, had 90 yards on 12 carries. Louisville, Tyler Shuck, guys, damn, 31-51, 342, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. What it came down to was when Louisville had to be able to get the stop. There's a couple times where they were able to score, then they got that fumble turnover to score to tie it back up. But every time Miami's offensive needed to answer the bell, guys, they did. And that Miami defense is still a big question mark. But nobody's balanced this year in college football. So, David, I'll start with you. After watching that Miami game again, now they're 7-0, 3-0 in the conference. Louisville drops to 4-3, 2-2, out of it in the ACC race. In a world full of imbalanced college football teams, does Miami have a chance to you?
Oh, yeah. And keep in mind the over-under on that game was 60.5. All right. When I was telling people to take it, where I would have set it in the mid-70s, I think. I would have probably set it in the mid-70s, something like that. that even got obliterated. Okay, so that's really what we're talking about here. Obviously, on offense, I think Miami really is as good as it gets, and the scariest part to me is they can still improve. Cam Ward can still improve, and not just this season, but beyond at the professional level, he can improve in his fundamentals and his technique to get a little bit more accurate. I know he's a playmaker, but he needs to tell himself, I don't have to make every single play, because that's when Miami kind of gets in trouble. So that's the scariest part, is they can continue to improve. Obviously, Restrepo, we've been talking about him for years, man. He's as good as it gets. The thing is, and Blaine, you were talking about this weeks ago, is, well, I don't know if Miami's good enough in the secondary to be able to beat really good football teams come December and January. And so we've seen that play out the last couple of weeks. Well, one of my takeaways yesterday is it's more than just the secondary for Miami. I mean, Louisville was gashing runs against them. So it's really an upfront problem too. As good as some of the talent they have at the ends, they have NFL players, but I just don't know on defense if they're going to be able to hold up. And guys, we were talking about this last night here in the cul-de-sac. We may be headed for a Clemson-Miami ACC championship game, because those teams don't play in conference during the regular season. And right now, I think that line would be pretty tight.
I think it would be too. I don't know what the over-under would be. And it's funny, people may say, David, well, Louisville's top rusher only had 56 yards. Yeah, on 9 carries. Duke Watson also only had 39 yards on 3 carries. Donald Chaney, he only had 29 yards on 3 carries. That's like 9 yards a carry. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I'm with you. Getting Ruben Bain back did help in some of the pass rushing situations. He's an NFL player, but I don't see how Miami lines up and stops Georgia right now. Right? I think they could score against Georgia, but probably not enough. I mean, you say the same thing when you look at Miami versus Texas. But again, Blaine, in a world full of imbalance, as long as you're giving yourself a chance in tournament football, I mean, who the hell knows? Cam Ward could throw for 500 and they win a game 60-59.
Did Blaine drop out?
Oh, I didn't see if he dropped out or not. I'm sure he'll drop back in.
I'm sure he was about to say something really insightful.
Oh, he was going to say something really smart and super duper insightful.
But yeah, their offense is going to give them a chance in every single game. Are you ready to have to win games 56-49 every week?
Well, David, can they win one 20-17?
That's what I don't know yet.
Against a quality opponent.
Or even how would it look right now against Tennessee? How would it look right now against a team that hasn't given up 20 points all season, but they have their own struggles on the offensive side of the football?
Yeah, and can run the ball and control the clock and keep Cam Ward off the field. But speaking about controlling a team and keeping an offense off the field, I thought LSU yesterday, I mean, we talked, David, all week, and I know Blaine's working on his way to get back in here. We talked all week about, can this LSU team, after coming off a big win, not that this was a trap game, it's a rivalry game, they're going to be excited to play it, but it was always harder to get guys to play well off a big win than it was off a tough loss. And really, man, they jumped Arkansas 10-0 in the first quarter, really never looked back. It's pretty much even in the second quarter, outscored them 8-3 in the third, then 10-0 in the fourth. And while Taylor Green was able to do some things, I mean, he had 239 through the air, I thought they really kept the Arkansas big play and the Arkansas ground game, David, grounded, which allowed them to just get a lead and really just be able to cruise throughout the rest of the game. I mean, Caden Durham, 100 yards on 21 carries and 3 scores. How for real is this LSU team now, David?
Yeah, look, LSU's win at Arkansas, to me, was as impressive as their win at home against Ole Miss. It really was. To be able to respond like that and get sandwiched in between coming off of an emotional game last week and then before you go on the road and play Texas A&M. And the key word to me was balance, man. Just looking at them like, oh, okay, they are really good on defense, right? And they've continued to improve, and Nussmeier looked good, and they rushed for 160. When you look down, LSU, 9 of 15 on third down. They held the football for 38 minutes, almost 39 minutes, and won the turnover battle 3-0. Guys, that's how you win football games. You're going to beat anyone in the country like that. And if you just think that loss they have, that's out of conference, man. That's to USC in the opener. So right now you're undefeated in SEC play, and Alabama comes to you. So if you're an LSU fan, you gotta like what you're looking at right now.
Well, I mean, these next couple of weeks, David, I mean, they go to Kyle Field. A&M's undefeated in conference play as well. If you want to go ahead and pretty much bookmark a space in Atlanta,
True.
handle your business the next couple of weeks, and you're going to be sitting really, really, really pretty when it comes time to see who's going to be playing in the Dome. But as far as this defense and Whit Weeks, who I thought was the MVP of this game, Whit Weeks is looking like what people wanted Harold Perkins to be.
Yeah.
Like he's having that type of game wrecker, status. I mean, it's interceptions, it's tackles for loss, it's forced fumbles, it's making a guy make a decision that doesn't get him the first down on 3rd and 6. But then from the Arkansas standpoint, Coney, again, you're 4-3 now, you're 2-2. It's a little bit of a different flavor than it was heading into this week. You really felt like if Arkansas was going to take a step toward the college football playoff, this would be a huge jump towards it. They're not out of it, but it just wasn't enough, man. And I do want to go back to what we said earlier, about LSU winning the game last week against Ole Miss. The defense, it wasn't like guys were just out there making stellar individual plays. It was doing the little things right, playing team defense, and Nussmeier not making bad decisions. Yeah, you might not have thrown for a touchdown, but you were 23 of 34 for 233 yards. You were really efficient. And when LSU needed to make a play, when that game was in the balance, right, in the second half, it seemed like every single play was made by LSU in a clutch time.
Yeah, and Brian Kelly just showcases this ability to be able to get a little bit better week by week, right? Like take an ugly win, improve on it a little bit, and do that throughout the season. And all of a sudden you have compound interest and you're better at the end of the season than you were at the beginning. On the Arkansas point, now you're 4-3. Now the question becomes, who do you beat that you're supposed to, and who can you possibly beat that you're not supposed to? I mean, for instance, they're going to go on the road to play Mississippi State. Do you go in there and you take care of business against a team that you're better than? Then you have Ole Miss at home. Is that one where, hey, let's see, could be pretty evenly matched. I think Ole Miss is a little bit better of a football team, but you play them at home. Can you beat Ole Miss? Then you got Texas. I don't think Arkansas is going to win that one, but hey, those two states hate each other. We'll see. Louisiana Tech, you'll beat them. And then they finish the year at Missouri. Who can you go beat? Like, what is the true ceiling for Arkansas right now? Because I think that'll dictate how it goes into the off season for them.
No, I agree. And your best chance now, because and David, I think everybody's in accordance with 9-3 is not probably you're probably not getting in. So even if you win your last 5 and you go 9-3, you're going to need to probably win the SEC championship to be able to get that automatic bid, and then therefore that bye if you're Arkansas. So there's still hope, but it's kind of dwindling there. David, you want to hop in the chat real quick while we wait for Blaine to get back?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm not sure who. Let's see here as I scroll up. All right, $5 donation here. From F3 Shake and Bake, whose defense is better than the Vols? ? Average 11 points per game against them through 7 games.
I mean, you can make a case they're the best defense in the country. I don't think Penn State's played the type of team that we can say, well, we think Penn State's is the best, even though we know they're really talented with Abdul Carter and some of the guys that they got. I mean, you can make a great case for Tennessee to be number one. You can make a case for a couple other teams to be number one. You look, if Georgia's defense played like it did last night, they got a pretty good case as well. So that's, again, what is making this year so wild is the amount of teams you could say, well, they could be number one at this, or this team could be number one here. It's just like there's not that complete mega ranger of college football.
$5 donation from Matthew Miller. As a Texas fan, it sucks because the defense was great last night. The longest drive for Georgia in the first half was 34 yards. Beck was 4.3 yards per attempt and 3 picks.
Yeah, and I think, there's a common misconception a little bit today that somehow Texas's defense isn't, as good as what some people thought. I don't think Texas defense is any worse than what I thought they would be going into this game. They kept them in the game at the end of the day. And yes, Georgia scored early. You got up 10-0, but a lot of it is field position, guys. It's the defense really can't control if the offense turns the ball over and they get a 3-and-out, but it ends in a field goal. Yeah, you gave up points. So if you're a Texas fan, it's funny. If you're Texas or Georgia, there was a lot of similarities in that game to each other. I thought Carson Beck struggled just like Quinn Ewers struggled. The
Mhm.
pressure got to both of them a little bit. They did some good things, right? But they also did some bad things. I mean, Carson Beck ended up with 3 turnovers as well. It was just Georgia's defense, right, was able to make a couple more clutch plays early, and that Georgia was able to run the ball more efficiently than what Texas was, and Texas wasn't able to stay on schedule. Those two teams are not miles apart. I know it may have been a 15-point win last night, but those teams are not super far apart when it comes to if they're playing their best and they're playing their best. It would be a hell of a game. And I think there's actually a lot of similarities, David.
True. $2 donation from War Chant. Lost my voice yesterday. What a game! ! Hashtag go Illini. I'm happy for you. I'm real
dominant.
Happy for you.
Look, dominant. I'm happy for Brett, man. It's a really good situation in Illinois. Look, Illinois and Indiana are balling in football right now. Just let that sink in.
Let that sink in. $5 donation from a bunch of random letters I can't pronounce. Thanks for being the only panel to pick my dogs to win against Georgia, even with the refs rigging them dogs 8. Who's that coming down the track?
Yeah, that's a great pick. That was a great pick. Jeff Foxworthy, great pick.
Yes,
dude,
sir.
I'm telling you, there's something to like. We're like Jeff Foxworthy's Lucky Charm. I'm telling you, man. Like
there he is. Yes.
Can y'all hear me?
Wow,
There he is.
Oh, he decided to come back.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Thank
hear
the
you.
Lord.
What
There
happened,
he is.
dude? Is it
I
North
missed you.
Koreans again?
All right, let me get back in here. Let me get comfortable real quick. What are we talking about?
Hey, get in your bed. Look, we're
Just
just
reading a
talking
couple chats, wait
yeah,
for you.
couple things here. We're definitely not talking Auburn, Missouri.
Wait, now that you are back in though, can we talk about Auburn and Missouri?
Jake, what'd you say?
He hadn't said anything yet. I want to hear about
I mean, what? Like,
What do I try and tell y'all every week?
Yeah, you
I
do.
try and tell everybody every week. This is who these guys are. This group, the of leadership. I don't say everybody, right? The young guys still got a chance. The young guys coming in. It's how many times do I have to say it about Auburn? I went on Locked On Auburn again and said it this week. They don't know how to win. They don't know how to win. They just can't do it. They just can't do it. They try and they try and they try, but they just can't do it. They don't have it in them. Don't have it in them. And I'm sure they're great people. I'm sure they're great people. They're going to make great fathers and great husbands and great insurance salesmen and teachers. And that's great. I'm really excited about that. Not winning SEC football games. If you're Kentucky, what a great gift. Here comes the slump buster again. Here she comes stumbling out to Crooked Martini at 11:30, ready to make you feel good about yourself. Old Auburn. Just drugging her way up along. Broken heel, right? Forgot left her purse there. It's going to be there for the rest of the weekend. It's a joke. It's a joke. I've never seen a team choke this much. Like it's to the point again. Like I'm tired of talking about it. I'm just going to sit here and just look at everybody because it's the same thing. And you see some Auburn people that are like, man, this is the week. Oh man, this will definitely be the week.
All right.
95 yards. 95 yards.
Brady Cook's a hero.
17 plays, guys.
Yeah,
17
the minute
plays,
Brady
95
Cook comes
yards.
back, the minute he comes back, Missouri wins. What a class. Look, y'all better just keep lifting weights and doing push-ups and talking about whatever y'all talking about. Because
I didn't hate the pick, though, Blaine. I didn't hate the pick last week.
It's not a bad pick.
No, it's not. For the
It's not a
value.
bad pick.
Look, Missouri minus
gonna
3
Rambo
never
Lady,
had a
you
doubt,
can't make
bro.
me.
Never had a doubt. And I hate saying this. God, I hate saying this. It's an embarrassment to me. I feel like it's a personal reflection of me because that's our way of life in Auburn. And look, I need to see some DraftKings accounts. Like it's getting to that point. It's got to be on purpose.
17 plays, 95 yards. Wrap it up in a bow.
I've never seen a group of players and coaches get it wrong every time.
Every
Right.
time.
I've seen us sometimes you just mess up in big moments, right? But when you get it wrong every time something big is happening, How does it should be studied?
No,
It
I'm
should
telling
be
you guys
studied.
right
It should
now.
be a credit. You should be able to go study at Auburn. Choking in football games.
PhD.
Listen.
Yeah.
I don't.
You have them in 4th down twice, and you brought everybody. Everybody. 4th and 12, whatever. 0. They don't have Luther Burden Jr. or anything. Let's put Keon Scott on them.
Dude,
you can't catch a punt.
Every time there's a big play that you need to have against the Auburn defense, it's 0. It's Scott. They go after him every time. It's this one is like watching the dad pick on the like kid in the neighborhood when they're playing basketball. Like, because he knows he bullies all the other kids, so the one dad's going to go show him a lesson. Like, that's what other coaches do to Auburn. Like, all right, it's 4th and 12. Where's 0 at? Let's go at him. No, like, listen, here's what needs to happen. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. I know the CDC's had some problems here with reliability issues, okay, or whatever. I'm not trying to get us flagged on YouTube, but they need to send at least, or somebody, send a couple scientists to Auburn. Put up those. Get Dustin Hoffman. Put him in that hazmat suit. Put those white circus tents up to keep in the contagion.
No.
It's like that movie with that redheaded chick when they're trying to learn the aliens' new language.
Like
they keep writing. It's like a big wall between them. They keep
What's
writing.
her name?
And they have
Amy
no
Adams?
idea.
Is that the movie?
Arrival or something like that?
Arrivals, yeah. And the aliens are just run the ball. What are they saying? What does that mean? Someone, please.
Oh, I thought they had
like,
that one, boys. I thought
it's
they had
so
that.
bad. It's so bad.
Mm.
It's so bad. Like, it just.
Hey, look. Okay, let's give Missouri some credit. All right, Brady Cook is now a hero.
Yeah.
A hero.
No,
I mean,
dude,
he could basically win any political office. Right
Brady
now in
Cook,
Missouri.
hold on. Brady Cook leaves the game. Auburn has a chance. Looking good. The second he came back in, they sent him to the hospital to have an MRI. The minute his foot touched back in the stadium, Auburn lost.
Mm.
Like, that just crumbled.
And Jake's
It's a
right when he
cookie
says this.
company.
Go back and watch the game. Like, it's the captains of Auburn
Yeah.
that are blowing
Auburn's
it in the biggest
captains.
moments.
Yes.
Like, whoever number 1 is on defense, it's always him.
It's him or
That
0.
big 3rd down dig play when we're in 2-man, he couldn't bait a fishing hook. He doesn't know how to lurk anybody in the middle. Threw it right to you in 2-man. On 3rd and 12, we brought everybody. Guess who had contain on the backside? Number 1, your captain. Payne Thorne on offense. Disaster. Your captain. Like, it's the leadership that is the worst, and you can't win.
Can't win with them. Just gotta. That's why sometimes we say it every weekend, David. You start hearing those soft, sweet songs from the village, and here they come out with the torches.
Yeah,
But,
I got my own problems over here. We need a slump buster.
Then they put you on the oh, don't worry, schedule Auburn. That's what I'm saying. Look, take a few more shots at tequila.
I was trying to see if Michigan can play Auburn in the bye week.
Take a couple more shots at tequila. It'll feel like a good win.
Congratulations, guys. Auburn just got scheduled for Michigan in the bye week.
Missouri's waking up this morning, rolling over and
David, I'm terrified to play Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
Oh,
you should
I'm
be.
terrified.
What? You should be. Texas should
get
be scared
killed
at this point.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the movie Memento, and then at the end I look in the mirror and I'm Vanderbilt.
That's a good one. Hey, how about the 2 undefeated teams in the Big 12, though? BYU, that game against Oklahoma State, and then Iowa State coming back at the end.
Bro, UCF, talk about not figuring it out. At least that's, talk about Auburn and Gus Malzahn, but big win for Iowa State. Sometimes you just, there's games you got to survive. At this point with BYU, I know they came back and won the game. Ollie Gordon was cooking them. Retzlaff's so for real. Like, he's just so for real. Do I think either one of those teams are going to win the national championship? No, but it's a cool story. It's a cool story to follow. They're both still undefeated. You look at Utah again losing yesterday, Arizona losing yesterday. They're best out of it. Kansas State,
And Colorado looked great.
yeah, beat West Virginia like they stole something from them.
Remember, one of Colorado's losses is out of conference too,
Dude,
to Nebraska.
it seems like every week Colorado possibly having a chance to play in the Big 12 championship becomes reality. And you thought people were pissed before? Let that happen.
Listen to this stat line from the Iowa State UCF game. Iowa State rushing 256 yards, UCF rushing 354 yards. That's all in the same football game.
Dude, and there was also like 2 pick sixes from UCF. Yeah. Like that game was just insane. That was just one of those insane games. I tell you what, I'm so disappointed in that. Speaking of the Big 12 quickly, I want to get Lane to these donos. But man, West Virginia, Neal, what happened, dog?
What happened? Kansas State could have done anything they wanted with you.
Yeah, they could have. Like you woke up tied up in the back of a pickup truck. Like the next move's not your decision.
Did you already hit the LSU Arkansas game?
Yeah. What'd you think?
LSU's good.
Yeah, balance.
Like, how good? Let me ask you this: A&M LSU on neutral field. A&M LSU on neutral field.
Who?
A&M LSU on neutral field right now. Who you taking?
LSU.
Well, they're playing at Cal Field next weekend.
Yeah, is the line out yet for that?
Probably. I would think. Man, that game, Cone.
Both undefeated in conference play.
Well, you win. I mean, you win that one. I'm sitting here. I mean, you're LSU. You're 3-0 in conference. You win that one, and you go 4-0 at 7-1. I mean,
okay, yeah, it's 3.5 A&M.
3.5 A&M.
Really?
Over under 53.5.
Man, and they gave up more points to Mississippi State than I thought they would.
Man, it seems like everybody's doing that though. Georgia gave up like 24 to Mississippi State and then just went and, burned down the whole state of Texas and ran away.
Army and Navy though.
Hey, look, I'm telling you guys, I would like to personally thank our service academies, but it's first off for your service, but then also for your other service of just covering and covering and covering. Armies. God, be all that you can be.
Yeah,
y'all are being all that you can be, and putting all my money in my wallets, being all that it can be. Navy too, just Charlotte. Oh no, submarine got him. So I'm telling you right now, I'm both guys. Guys, I want to go through for a second our locks, leans, and dogs just straight forward.
Yeah, I don't.
I do.
You sure?
All right. Yeah, I do.
Cool.
Yeah.
You'll always have that Georgia pick.
You'll always have that Georgia pick.
Georgia in the under called it.
So my lock, Army -14, stealing.
Hit.
100% stealing. Bowling Green -20.5.
Hit.
Leffler, beautiful.
Last minute too.
Win
he
by
knew
21. Leans, North Texas, Memphis over 67. Not even halftime. That was full game. Crushed it. Mizzou -3. Never a doubt. Never a doubt. Then my dogs, Illinois. The only bet I didn't hit on locks, leans, and dogs was Arkansas, but you know what? I'll take it.
What were mine?
Cody, I didn't see yours in here on the text.
Well, find them, Jake.
I'll find them. I'll find it. Here's Blaine's.
Here's one thing. Here's one thing. Let's just get this out of the way so I can be on record. Rutgers. I'm not touching anything to do with Rutgers for the rest of the season. I'm not betting on them. I'm not betting against them. I'm not taking any unders. I'm not taking any overs. I'm done. I'm checked out.
They got you. All right. They made the list.
Yeah, they're on the list.
Yeah, I can tell.
David,
right.
What if I told you should bet them this Saturday?
Yeah, well, you know what? Get out.
What?
Get
just
out.
Got here.
Yeah.
All right,
also, South Carolina, man.
Dude, oh, yeah. Hey, Oklahoma.
Spank.
Look,
that brings us to a donation. Hold on.
I read a couple of them. I'll let you know when you read one I read already. I did that for you.
Get out of my chocolate factory, dude. So do a $2 donation from Christopher Ard. Hello, Christopher. Says, fire Brent Venables. I don't say that lightly.
No, don't fire Brent Venables. So, for South Carolina, to me, is basically the guy from Split. Like, you're schizophrenic. Like, that team, I'll watch that team run around and play sometimes. I'm like, how are y'all not undefeated? Like, just they look huge. They look huge everywhere. Lenore Sellers looks huge. And wide receiver, they look huge. The defense, huge and long and running. What they did to Oklahoma's offense yesterday is banned in 14 states and 30% of Europe. So when I watch Oklahoma, though, we can talk about by the way, the people thought we were crazy for wanting to put Jackson Arnold back in the game. Sure didn't look as crazy this past week, even though they couldn't get it moving. To me, if you're Oklahoma, we knew they were going to struggle. And we tried to tell you guys that. And we tried to tell you, and you didn't want to listen. And Teddy Lehman screamed at me. And it was just like everybody was pissed off about it. But when you have a new young quarterback and an offensive line that hasn't played together a lot, and then you come into this SEC, into this league, this is what it is. It's not just it's Tennessee. Big bad Tennessee. It's, we got South Carolina at home this week. And then they just rip you to shreds and just throw you like bread to brim in a pond. It's a systemic offensive problem. It's all bad. Yeah. It's not one thing. It's not two things. It's not red fish, one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. It's one fish, two fish, red fish. Jesus Christ, y'all can't throw it. That's what it is. So at this point, if you're Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold, Hey Arnold.
Yeah.
Sam
you can put
Darnold.
Tom Brady out there.
Yeah, it ain't good. It ain't good. Welcome to it. But hey, congrats to South Carolina. Now you'll go let down everybody next week. Who you got next week? Furman? You'll win by 4.
If that.
Let's get a $5 donation from Michael D. What's up, Mike? He says, y'all were right about Indiana, Nebraska when I called, but we didn't exactly sneak up on them, though. Gauntlet throwdown, OSU. Going to beat them by 50, ? Go Hoosiers.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm so like I'm riding with Indiana. Like, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not,
man? I love
me, Jimmy Chitwood, and the boys. We ought to go up there. It's not that far from here. I don't think.
Let's do it. Road trip.
I'd be down. Let's go to a $20 donation from Peyton Williams. Peyton, appreciate it. He says, as a Georgia fan, it wasn't a pass interference, but a fine doesn't matter to me anymore. Refs should have come out and said they were talking about reversing the call, but because they want to act like children, the call will stand.
Do you see what Kirby said?
Yeah.
He said, nobody picked us. Nobody on y'all's network picked us. Our network did, though. Most of the people did. And they tried to rob us. Look, I'm rich. Find me. We won. Like, we beat Texas on the road.
Propaganda I would be pushing.
For sure. No, the state of Georgia would be seceding from the United States today because of what happened.
I would have 6% in the real election.
No, like Kirby Smart would be like the dictator. We would like make him like czar of Georgia.
You would like every time I'd walk out to the time, like someone would blow a horn. And then I'd walk out.
Yeah. No, I'm with that.
Let's go to a $2 donation from Tim. Appreciate it, Tim. He says SEC 0 undefeated, Big Ten 2. The Big Ten is better.
I don't think that's how that works, Tim. So let me ask you this. We got a couple. Is Iowa State better than anybody in the Big Ten? Is BYU better than everybody in the Big Ten just because they're undefeated? I tell you where I go back and forth on it is when it comes to ranking, David. Like if I put out a top 5 yesterday right after the Texas game, and I had Oregon 1. I had Oregon 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia
State 2.
Let me see that. Hold on. Let me double check right here. I put out Oregon 1, Ohio State 2. God, I love when Twitter just updates when I want to look at something.
Come on, dude, figure it out.
It's my stuff. I got Georgia 3. I've got Penn State 4 and Texas 5. So Oregon 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Penn State 4, Texas 5. But it's like Miami's undefeated. So like am I going to rank you based and say, look, you're undefeated, I've got to put you there? Or do I say, well, on a neutral field, I think this team could be that team even though they have one loss?
Maybe that's what we should start with tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. Should Florida State got in the playoffs last year?
Not this year.
They still have a chance. David Jordan Travis is coming back.
Yeah, I hear you. Also, what happened with USC yesterday? Would they blow a 14-point lead or something to
Yeah.
Maryland?
Maryland
Bro.
just always got a couple guys.
Oh yeah, Blaine, you recruited the DMV. You know how that is.
It's just, especially at the skill position, they're
Well-
just walking around everywhere.
This USC team, like you thought it was bad earlier, like now you want to talk about, and we called it. We said who has going to have the hardest transition in the Big Ten?
Yeah.
Going to be UCLA and USC. I know that wasn't some crazy hot take, but some people, especially after USC beat LSU, thought that, hey man, they're going to come in here and USC is going to do what they do and be able to ball and fit in. They're more physical now. It ain't looking good for Lincoln. You want to talk about hot seat, right? If we're going to be honest, not that I think the wheels would have to come off next year for them to fire them, but like this, with what they're paying them, Coney, I mean, this ain't it.
I saw one article that was like, man, the teams are just having to travel across the country too much, and only like 2 teams have won when they've gone 3 time zones. Oh, if only we could have forecasted that before this all got unleashed. If only there were some people saying pump the brakes. Yeah. Also, you want to talk about a team being split? What's going on with Texas Tech? You give up 59 points to Baylor.
Poor Pokey Texan. Every bet I gave him missed when he called in.
Really?
I can't wait for that call.
Oh, we'll hear it. We'll hear about
I didn't want to
that
bet those games. You made me do it. So
no,
you can't yell at me.
They just had to sell their farm because that was their last hope.
Hey, we'll get it back with the asparagus.
That was
my connection's going in and out, fellas.
Oh yeah, sure it is. Yeah.
What's the rest of the chat saying?
Let's go to a $5 donation from the Mashed Potato Bandit. He says, 1, I think you could have every call be reviewable. 2, just make the reviews quick. Does the NFL make calls down to the ref without a full review?
Don't make everything reviewable. We'll never get through a game. That's where like the whole we want to get every call perfectly right. I would love that, but in order to do that, you would have to review so many calls. What I would like to see is why in 2024, when I'm watching Elon Musk land rockets on the side of towers on ramps in the Indian Ocean, does the referee have to run all the way over to the video monitor to not make the decision?
Thank you.
Can we just buzz down and be like, hey, Trent, yeah, shit wasn't a fumble, dog. Ball's at the 34.
And
all right, here we go.
Let us hear into that conversation.
Yeah.
I want to know, man. You know.
Like some things are hard, right? Some plays are bang bang, which that brings me to the Miami Louisville. We didn't talk about that. Did you guys think that was a fumble or a pass?
You can't overturn that.
Jake, what'd you think?
Say that again.
The fumble or a pass in the Miami Louisville game?
Man, I think you got to stick with the call on the field there.
But see, they're letting plays play out like that. They're like, okay, let's just let it play out so we have a clear recovery of a fumble and see what happens. And then we'll go back and take a look at it. So you're creating this situation where they're like, all right, we're going to let this play out. But then if we don't have enough evidence, we're going to stick with the call on the field. That's one of those ones that could have gone either way. That's bang, bang. Some of this other stuff is not hard. They're getting the easy stuff wrong.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And on the other point, though, like I would rather – like if there's not enough, and I know sometimes there's like anomalous things, like 2 guys get in the way of where the ball is and nobody can see it, so you got to stick with the call. But I would rather you give it a chance to like let the play happen in case it is a fumble, and then when you go back and you look at it and you say, you know what, I don't think there's enough video evidence from all 35 angles that we got to say this isn't a fumble, so let's just say it's a fumble as opposed to literally limiting yourself to a 50% chance of getting it right every time by saying, nope, we're just going to blow the play dead. Now, if you wanted to, David, to me, maybe you let it go until there's a clear recovery. And if somebody scoops it up and runs it for 40 yards, but that's
either. And in all fairness too, like 20 years ago before the Brady and Charles Woodson game, that's getting called a fumble all the time.
Oh, for sure.
Before we started introducing the quarterback's arm going forward like 1 centimeter, that would have always
been like the tuck rule and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
$5 donation from TJ. The cardiac Canes strike again. 7-0, baby. It's Hake Wheat. Bring on FS Poo.
FS
Dude.
Poo.
All right. So if you're Miami, you get a chance in 1 year to knock off Florida, and now you get Florida State. Right? You're trying to sweep the state. You're trying to go get this one matters. All right. Not only that, Florida State's awful right now. It's guys. Gene Chizik, Ed Orgeron, are those the only other drop offs that have been this massive that you've seen from a team have Big success. But at least in that case, Gene Chizik won a natty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Ed Orgeron won a natty. Mike Norvell got told, you know, hey, you're the best male model can't go on the runway, so you're not coming to Milan this year.
That's rough.
Blaine, you know how that is.
Devil wears Prada.
I've had my bag packed for weeks. For absolute weeks. You're gonna win. Florida State might beat Charlotte.
Wow.
They might win 2 games.
What a time to be alive.
Crazy. $5 donation from Freeway Jared. Yeah, what's up, Jared? MIZ, love you boys. Well, I empathize with your pain. I promise you it's not worse than what I felt when we lost at Jordan Hare in 2022. Whatever, dude.
Yeah, no, look, at this point, the dog's been lost for 2 months. We're just
we've given up.
We've given up. The Flyers, we're not putting any more up.
I just drink 11 Coors and scream at the moon every night. Let's go to a $5 donation from David. Appreciate it, David. Can't say enough good things about Lagway and ball. Lagway's deep ball looks so effortless. # Go Gators. Yeah, keep Billy. Y'all should keep Billy, David. Y'all should keep him. Look good. Okay, Kentucky never had a chance. It's bad. $2 donation from Rolly Season. He says, I think UGA exposed Texas that haven't played anybody. Go Big Orange.
Well, I mean, say exposed. I think in some areas, yes, because, you know, we haven't seen Texas take on that level of athlete before. But I think in this year in college football, man, you know, anybody can get anybody. Anybody can get anybody.
$2 donation from Pete. Pete, I'm going to try to read this. He says, we lose Woe Weeks love refs, Rev 2 targets in 2 games.
Yeah, that's a great point, man.
Thank you.
God, I remember the first time I tried to learn Mandarin.
Appreciate it, Pete. $5 donation from Brad David. Did Oklahoma make a mistake giving Venables an extension? OU looks lost, and now they are stuck with him.
No, y'all will be fine. Just like y'all may have been throwing vegetables at me and us when we said y'all were going to struggle this year. You may have called us awful names, right? You may have made fun of our physical appearance or people that care about us.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what I'll do? I'll shake your hand. All right, I'll let you come back here and say, we'll Dr. Rick this.
Trust tree.
All right.
Put your parents in some chili.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Like, who likes books about submarines? Oh, yeah, your dad.
$5 donation from CX. He says, thanks for being the only panel to pick my dogs to win against Texas.
You already read that.
Even with the refs rigging them dogs. 8.
You already read that.
Down the track? There's nothing after that. Why are you looking at me like there's something after that? That was a whole donation.
I already read that one.
Oh.
Yeah, David read that
That's
one.
what we were saying to you.
I couldn't hear it. My mic
when you were off taking a number 3.
All right, did you read the one from War Chant?
Yes.
I
did. Skip that one.
What about Matthew Miller?
Yes.
Yeah.
What about the Shake and Bake?
Yes.
What about Big Rick?
No.
All right, let's get a $5 donation to Big Rick. Boys, I got nothing. Oh, wait, Army's 7-0 and giving me all of Vegas' money. It's not their money. It's mine. Beat Navy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, look, when they asked me, this is me. When they said, Jake, would you join the Army? This is what I meant. Yes, I will tail Army every weekend for America.
I love it.
And Navy. Hey, that guy who keeps doing he calls in like every Thursday, or he like writes in, he's like, hey, take in Army -9.5 and Navy -9.5 this week. He must be a billionaire by now.
That's all the donations today, fellas.
Also, boys, how about the Georgia Southern football Eagles, man?
I should have picked.
How about them Eagles? Just
picked
stomping James Madison. I love it. I'm here for it all week.
That Fun Belt, son. That Fun Belt hits different. But, all right. Appreciate everybody joining us. Y'all got any parting thoughts here as we get ready for another crazy weekend of college football? Like my face, my brain.
Fill my copium here and try and finish the season strong.
David, I thought you quit that.
Just remember the good times that were.
You just won a natty, David.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and just remember that.
Yeah. We've been fat for years.
Yeah, just trying to get you not to go back to New Horizons. Blaine, what do you think?
I think we suck. That's what I think.
Suck again.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys being with us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Check in with us tomorrow at 2. Going to have a great show for you. Enjoy the NFL today. Going to put out our bets, including your boy hit with the prize picks lineups. Starting out first pitch I saw.
Don't do that with
I'm
your
going to share my
hands.
prize.
Do what, this?
No, just don't do that, man. You're freaking everybody out.
All right. Just don't kill me in my dreams. All right. Appreciate you guys. Going. God.